Okay, so I'm going to call the meeting to order and we'll start with a moment of reflection. Thank you. Okay, so you can make a disclosure of pecuniary interest now or at any point in time through the meeting. And we're going to move on to confirmation of the agenda. And before I ask for a motion, we're making a few additions and subtractions. So the in closed session, we had an item relating to personnel, and that's staying. And then I'm going to add a matter pertaining to labor relations, verbal update. And I'm going to add an item pertaining to security of municipal property. And there was an item there listed and closed as pertaining to legal advice. That is being deleted. There is no legal advice. It's a verbal update. And I'm also going to add to 5.8, and it was an email I'd got yesterday from HPPH, the 2022 base and mitigation funding request. So I'm going to add that to 5.8. And I think Tyler said he circulated that this morning. So if I could have a motion to approve the agenda as amended. Councillor Kellum, second by Councillor McDermott. Those in favor? That is carried. Perfect. So we are now going to move on to consent agenda. And we have items 5.1 to 5.7. And the council minutes from February the 3rd, 2022. Does anyone want to see anything pulled or?
5.8 was added to that.
Oh, sorry, 5.8 was added to that. Yeah, I'm in the, oh yeah, we're down to 5. So 5.8 was added. Councillor Kasenberg.
And I think that's the one I'd like to pull, Mr. Warden, if we can.
Yeah, I was hoping we could have that discussion today and not wait for 2 weeks to another meeting.
Yeah.
Okay. Do you want to deal with it right now?
With council's consent, happy to. Mr. Warden, certainly the health unit has positioned itself and its board has positioned itself clearly on the matter of continuing mitigation funding and strategy from the province. Health units have proven to be rather important over the last couple of years. This after a period at the initiation of the current government's mandate of significant thought and effort being made towards consolidation of health units across the province. That seems to have been put on the back burner and perhaps fortunately so. I think our point is that beyond receiving this, we as a council should endorse this. Our health unit is making a reasonable request at this point in time for continuing and longer term support related to its many activities, but certainly with regards to its work on the pandemic and the toll that has had on the organization in some ways. They have labored hard and long and diligently, and I think the province needs to be more involved and significantly involved in its funding stabilization over the near and medium term future.
Other comments? If you've all, I think you may have all had a chance to read that. So, Councillor Wilhelm.
I totally agree with what Councillor Kassenberg has stated. It's concerning that the province controls the purse strings at their whim, and I think we need to show that we are behind the health unit and that they have our support.
Okay, Councillor Kasenberg, would you like to make a motion to endorse that and support?
Yes, Mr. Warden, I think that's exactly the nature of the motion. Move that the council of the County of Perth endorse the letter and send a supplementary letter indicating same to the appropriate stakeholders.
Okay, Councillor Wilhelm, you want to second that? I see a hand up. Any other comments or discussion? Councillor McKenzie?
Yeah, just through you, Warden, there's a list of who we're circulating that to, and I would suggest that we also send a copy to AMO and let them know what we're doing.
Good point. So we'll add AMO to the list. Any other comments? If we're adding AMO, should we add Roma as well?
I'm guessing that by sending it to AMO, we're pretty well covering Roma, but I guess if you wanted to, you know, you could if you want, but AMO is the parent body of that organization.
Okay. So I have motion on the floor, moved and seconded. Those in favor? That's carried. So I'll go back to the motion for item for the council receives the consent agenda items 5.1 to 5.8 and approves the February 3rd, 2022 council minutes. Do I have a mover and a seconder? Councillor Duncan and Deputy Warden Eggets. Those in favor? And that is carried. Okay, so now we're going on to public meetings and we have 3 to deal with. OPA 201, 202, and 203. So I need a motion. No.
Through the order, there is also the application for plan of subdivision as well.
Yeah, I just got 3 listed on my sheets here. Okay. Anyway, I do need a motion to recess council at 9:07 for the purpose of holding planning public meeting. And I need a mover and a seconder. Councillor McKenzie, Councillor Kasenberg. Those in favor? Carried. Okay, so number 1 on the list is 201. And that will be Melissa Gassick. So we need to get her connected. And perhaps Mike Wilhelm as well. And I'm guessing maybe Sally might even add, but hard to say.
I don't think you can see me.
Melissa, I can hear you, but no, I can't.
You can hear me. That's fine. You know what? Good morning, everybody. Let me just share my presentation. That's okay. You don't have to see me.
Is Mike Wilhelm coming on as well, or?
I don't think I can share my screen either. Host.
Melissa, you should be able to share your screen now. My apologies.
Okay.
Oh, there we go.
You got it? Okay. Okay, perfect. Okay, so this is an official plan amendment application pertaining to the land at 4365 line 36 in Perth East. The official plan amendment proposes to redesignate a small portion of the aggregate lands, which is that red rectangle, to accommodate a future residence from the mineral aggregate resource to agricultural designation. This OPA application has been brought forth in conjunction with a zoning bylaw amendment, which seeks to similarly rezone the site from mineral aggregate special zone to agricultural zone A. The proposed redesignation will not have a negative impact on the availability of the aggregate or its extraction as confirmed by the aggregate resource assessment, which you have as an attachment in my report. This area to be redesignated is already occupied by a barn, and the owner wishes to reconstruct the residence and continue the aggregate operation County official plan permits agricultural uses except a dwelling. And as a result, the applicant is proposing the amendments to allow for the erection of a new residence. A holding provision will be recommended on the land at the rezoning stage to ensure that archaeological locations are properly monitored as per the requirements of stage 4 mitigation report submitted in conjunction with this proposal. This includes my public meeting presentation. Thank you. I would be happy to answer any questions.
Thank you, Melissa. So next we're going to go to Mike Wilhelm, the applicant. And if he has some comments to add. I see we have Caroline Baker.
Good morning. Sorry, not Mike Wilhelm.
Okay, Caroline, just as lovely.
Oh, thank you. Again, name's Caroline Baker from Baker Planning Group, representing Mike Wilhelm with respect to the OPA application before you this morning. Really not much further comment to add. We're in agreement with the planner's recommendation report to facilitate the reconstruction of a house on this property as they continue to finalize and finish the extraction on the property and continue the agricultural uses long-term. But certainly if there's any questions, I'd be happy to answer them.
Any questions for Caroline on this application? Don't see any hands going up. Now, I also have to ask if there's anyone who wishes to speak to the other side of this and not support this. And I don't think we've had any comments received. I have to confirm that we've had no comments received. Okay. So,
do you want to do those resolutions before we do the resolution on this item?
Yeah. Okay. So just before I do the resolution to support OPA 201, I erred. We all make mistakes. I need to have a motion to approve that the public meeting February 17th, 2002 agenda be approved. Moved by Councillor Wilhelm, second by Councillor McDermott. Those in favor? That's carried. And I did know we had them and I forgot. I need a motion to approve the minutes from October 7th, 2021 public meeting OPA 200, because that is part of the public meeting process. So I need that motion as well. Councillor McKenzie, seconder, Councillor McDermott. Discussion. Those in favor? It's carried. Okay, and then I'm going to go to Perth County Council receives the official plan amendment 202 County of Perth official plan revision to section 6.3A second dwelling units. Oh, that's not the right one. We're out of order here. That's not second dwelling. I need the one for the.
This one?
Yes, just give me a second here. They've been giving me the wrong motions. Okay, thank you, Annette. I have a motion that Perth County receives the report entitled Application for County Official Plan Amendment 201 by Michael Wilhelm Excavating, affecting lands described as Part Lot 10 of Concession 2 Ellis Ward, Township of Perth East, 4365 Perth line 36 for information, and that Perth County receives comments from the public for consideration regarding the official plan amendment 201 to the County of Perth official plan pertaining to the lands of Part Lot 10, Concession 2, Ellis Ward, Township of Perth East, 4365 line 36, while reserving the decision to approve the regular meeting of Perth County Council being held today when we reconvene. Do I have a mover and a seconder? Deputy Warden Agats, Councillor Wilhelm. Last chance for comments or questions. Those in favor? It's carried unanimous, and we will discuss that here shortly. Okay, now we're going to move on to public hearing OPA 202. And thank you, Melissa. She's probably already gone. And now we'll bring in Sally. Morning, Sally.
Good morning, Morton and members of council.
Okay.
I'm here today. Thank you. Sorry. I'm here this morning to talk about official plan amendment 202. And this council initiated this amendment back in the fall to remove certain barriers to implementing second dwelling units as a means of providing additional forms of housing through our communities. So this amendment specifically addresses the policies for these additional units in settlement areas in our towns and villages, and specifically is aimed at removing some of the text around accessory structures. So as you know, second dwellings can be put within the primary dwelling or in an accessory structure. And currently the official plan says that the structure, an accessory structure, must be 5 years old at the time that it's converted, 5 years old or more. So this official plan amendment proposes to remove that 5-year-old requirement, and that would facilitate somebody either purpose building or converting a younger building to this use. The second piece of the amendment removes an automatic rezoning or minor variance requirement due to, or rather on the basis that an addition might be required for the conversion of an accessory building. So what I mean by that is that if an addition to the building was needed to put a second unit in there, that they wouldn't have to do a zoning amendment just simply because of that. They would, however, need a zoning amendment or a minor variance if something within the zone needed relief, for instance, a side yard or a rear yard. So the mechanism of rezoning or minor variance is still fully intact by removing this text when it's warranted, but wouldn't be triggered just simply because an addition had been needed. So those are the two things proposed to change through this amendment, those two pieces, those restrictions being removed from the text. A more fulsome review of additional unit policies is being conducted right now for the new official plan. And so this amendment is specific, as I said, just to removing these barriers for accessory structure and in settlement areas. And that concludes what I have for the public meeting today. Thank you.
Thank you, Sally. Have we received any comments either for or against this OPA 2002? None, just confirming. And we don't have anybody wishing to come on the screen. Okay, comments or questions from council? Councillor Wilhelm.
Yes, I'll support this. I'm disappointed it did not go further due to the housing crisis we have currently. However, I do understand that it will be a full review and there will be other changes when our official plan comes forward. So I'll look forward to that. And this is a step in the right direction.
Okay, Councillor Kassenberg.
Thank you. Like Bob, I suppose I have a question. I just want to make it blatant. With regards to this amendment, I assume that what it affects, because of the current language of the official plan, is that now residential lots can have essentially 2 units on them, the primary dwelling and 1 additional residential unit, but the province allows a 3rd. Am I right?
Correct. Yeah, the province does encourage planning authorities like Perth County and the local municipalities to get their policies prepared and enforce for a 3rd unit as well. Yes.
And just supplementary to that then, so our intent is that we will cover that when the new official plan is introduced. There is, as I understand it, something of a waiting period while we wait for the province to approve a new official plan. Does that intersect with this at all?
I'm not sure I understand what you mean by intersect.
Well, if the province if we're waiting on the province to approve the new official plan, are those policies enforced? In which case, residential lots will be able to have 3 units, not 2, or are we still held to the old policy until the province signs off?
Yeah, the old policy until the province signs off. And the second piece to providing a full policy environment for successfully getting to the 3rd unit would be zoning provisions that also help to make sure that sufficient parking and yards and stuff are there when a 3rd unit is introduced on a particular lot.
Sorry, Jim, one more if I might. If I can get a sense of the roadmap, sorry, I just want to make sure I understand. When the new official plan has been approved by this council and submitted to the province for approval, does the work on revising and updating or creating the appropriate new zoning bylaw begin at that point? And will that be handled by the planning department at the County of Perth?
Yeah, and we've actually begun working on it already, because as we look for, when we do an official plan, even like the one today, we do scan all of the zoning bylaws in force in the county to make sure that that they will work with the amendment that we have. So there are a couple of zoning amendments that will follow this this official plan amendment, and as well as at the same time that we're doing that, we're also sort of scanning other jurisdictions to see how are other folks looking at different provisions for the 3rd units. We're also looking at, I mean, essentially what we're doing is we're sort of researching and we're drafting ideas and talking about them as a team for not only 3rd units in settlement areas where servicing is available, but also for 2nd and 3rd units in other designations like agriculture.
Other questions? Okay, so I got a motion here and I'll read it. That Perth County Council receives the official plan amendment 202, County of Perth official plan revision to section 6.3A, 2nd dwelling units report for information. And Perth County Council receives comments from the public for consideration regarding the official plan amendment 202, County of Perth official plan revision to 6.3A, 2nd dwelling units, while reserving the decision to approve at the regular council meeting at Perth County Council being held today upon reconvening council. Moved by Deputy Warden Agate, seconded by Councillor Duncan. Those in favor? That is carried. Okay, so then we're going to move on to the next one, and that is 203. And we'll have to bring Melissa back. We're doing the subdivision public meeting too, right? We're doing the subdivision public meeting. They got Melissa's name up there.
Oh, you can see me somewhat.
Yeah. Morning, Melissa. Good to see you. So we're ready to go on OPA 203.
Okay, let me just share my screen.
And that's good.
Good. Okay. Okay. So this is an official plan amendment application pertaining to the land at 2158 Perth Line 43 in Perth East. So the official plan amendment proposes to redesignate the mineral aggregate resource licensed pit to agricultural and natural resources environment designation. This application has been brought forth in conjunction with a rezoning application that seeks to similarly rezone the lands. This official plan aims to formally confirm the change in use pertaining to the rehabilitation of the lands of the former mineral aggregate operation. The new designation will be consistent and compatible with the adjoining agricultural land use and will have roughly the same acreage and soil capability as it existed previously, save and except the area to the north, which will be redesignated to suit the adjacent natural heritage and to increase its protection and recognize its extent. And this concludes my presentation, public meeting presentation. Thank you. I'll be happy to answer any questions you might have.
Thank you, Melissa. Just don't disappear. I have Carolyn Baker back, so I'm going to go to public comments for or against. And Carolyn, do you want to speak to this application?
Just here on behalf of the owners as their agent, in case should the warden, council, or members of public have any questions.
Okay. And I have to confirm, do we have any written correspondence either for or against on this application?
Nothing received.
So we've received nothing. Okay. Time for councilors' questions and comments. Not seeing any hands. Okay, I have a motion. Perth County Council receives the application for official plan amendment number 203 by Walter Lance, Sherry, and Rebecca Schmidt. And Eric Schmidt, sorry. Report pertaining to the lands at Lot 19, Concession 7, Northeast Oak Ward, Township of Perth East, 2158, Perth Line 43 for information, and that Perth County receives comments from the public for consideration regarding the official plan amendment number 203 pertaining to the lands at Lot 19, Concession 7, Northeast Oak Ward, Township of Perth East, 2158, Perth Line 43, while reserving the decision to approve at the regular meeting of Perth County Council held on February 17, 2022, when we reconvene. Do I have a mover and a seconder? Moved by Deputy Warden Agus, second by Councilor McKenzie. Last chance for comments or questions. Those in favor? That's approved unanimously. Thank you. We're moving on. So now we have a plan of subdivision we're going to deal with. And I believe we have Susanna coming on. And is Bob McLean coming on as well?
Correct.
Okay. So as soon as we get everybody else up there, oh, there's Susanna.
Oh.
Just give us 1 second. Is Bob coming right away, or are we gonna? Oh, there's Bob. Okay, we're gonna let you start, Susanna, with the plan of subdivision in your report.
Great, thank you very much, Mr. Warden, and good morning, Council. I will share my screen. This is a application for a plan of subdivision. The file number is, excuse me, WP 21-01. The file is submitted by B&S Construction, and we're holding the statutory public meeting today in order to receive any comments from the public. The developers consultants are attending the meeting as well. Dave Hannum, who's the planner at Zelinka Priamo, and Jamie Dick, engineer at MT, are also available to speak to the file. And as the warden has mentioned, Bob McLean, who's the building official in West Perth, is also on the call to answer questions. So I'm sharing my screen now, and you can see the red star is the location of the subject property in Mitchell. This is a plan of subdivision application. So the development site is here where the red star is. It's behind the Mitchell Nursing Home. Mitchell Nursing Home is here on Napier Street. And here is an air photo of the subject property. So the property is 1.72 hectares, 4.24 acres, and it's outlined here in blue. It fronts Wimpole Street, on the west side, and it's between William Street at the north, Park Lane at the south, and this is Anderson Lane, which is proposed to be extended through the subject property. The property is designated residential in the Mitchell official plan, and here is the zoning. It is currently zoned R4-H3, which is a Mitchell high density zone. The R4 zone is the Mitchell high density zone in the West Perth zoning bylaw. And you can see again, the zoning bylaw offers a good review of the surrounding areas. So there's a future development zone over here, which is also residential in the Mitchell official plan. And you can see residential development to the north. This is Anderson Lane. Residential development to the south. And this R4 zone is where the Mitchell Nursing Home is on Napier Street. So some photos of the area. The red star here shows where I was standing when I took this picture. So the subject property is a vacant development site. So looking north across the property, this is Anderson Lane here. Now I'm standing further north on Wimpole Street, looking south on Wimpole Street. These are the houses on fronting Park Lane. This is the vacant land on the west side of Wimpole Street. This is standing on William Street, looking south on Anderson Lane. So Anderson Lane is proposed to be developed to the south. And this is standing on Park Lane, looking north towards William Street. So these houses are on Anderson Lane. And this is the Mitchell Nursing Home on Napier Street. So the plan of subdivision application is proposes or it has applied for 21 new lots. And I have included on the slide here the lot areas. Each one of these lots is just shy of 670 square meters. And each lot is proposed to, there is a semi-detached dwelling proposed to be constructed on that property. So each lot would be further subdivided into 2 units to convey each as separate semis. So the unit area then would be half of the lot area, 334 square meters. The lot frontage is 18 meters or 60 feet. And then again, they would propose to be subdivided. So each would be 30 feet. So 30 feet would be half of the frontage. And then the depth of these lots is almost 120 feet. And this slide also shows a good configuration of how the lots will be fronting Wimpole Street, and then the extension of Anderson Lane. Anderson Lane is proposed to be built, and the nursing home is here. And here are elevation drawings of the proposed semis. So these would be constructed on each of the lots, and then after construction would be the lots would be subdivided along the common wall. So that is a review of the slides. Some of the planning comments are highlighted in the report and council's package, and along with the studies provided by the developer and the agency comments. Just a few comments before the discussion by the public. The servicing report has been provided. Functional servicing report has been reviewed by the municipal engineer, BM Ross, as well as Upper Thames Conservation Authorities, and all of the municipal and conservation authorities conditions have been incorporated into the conditions of draft approval. The details of the servicing requirements would be outlined in a subdivision agreement. Pedestrian access has been considered, and sidewalks are proposed on Wimpole and as well as Anderson Lane. And with regards to the zoning, subsequent public meeting for the zoning bylaw amendment is proposed. The applicant had initially applied for a special R4 zone, as the R4 zone does not permit semis. And the planning department suggestion, the zoning is being changed to an R3, which does permit a semi, and then greater intensification would require a rezoning back to an R4 the consideration there was a recirculation to neighboring property owners in order to allow neighbors an opportunity to comment if the plan moves away from the proposed semis. At this point, we don't anticipate that would be happening. It's more that the thinking is that the R3 zone more clearly reflects the current proposal. The municipality of West Perth has discussed the application at the regular meeting of January 24th, and West Perth Council has recommended that the application be approved. The West Perth correspondence is in the council package, so you can review that as well as the conditions. One of the planning considerations for this file is the considerations of attainable housing. As there is an incredible need for housing, we would like to use the opportunity of this public meeting presents to discuss purpose-built second dwelling units with council. The planning department has had conversations with the developer's planner, Dave Hannum, about second dwelling units through the course of our review and the circulation of this file. And through his consultant, the developer has indicated a willingness to discuss second dwelling units with purchasers. As discussed with OPA 202, the file that that Sally McMullen just presented, we're in a transition to develop a suite of planning tools to respond to the need for attainable and affordable housing. That's a project that the planning department is completely engaged in. And we would like to do this in concert with the development community because the need for housing is so great that from the planning department's perspective, we would like to be working in a collaborative fashion with the development community. And a general recognition that we need all hands on deck to develop a collaborative approach to responding to the housing crisis. At the West Perth Council meeting on January 24th, there was a good discussion about parking and attainable housing. So the concern that if second dwelling units were incorporated into as basement units in some of the semis, that might create parking challenges on Anderson Lane or Wimpole Street. So for that reason, the planning department has included in our recommendation that council provide direction to staff to further work with the developer in order to reconfigure the lots proposed to make the lots large enough to ensure that parking and second dwelling units can be incorporated into the lot fabric. The number that is proposed is 3 to 5, and that is informed loosely by a policy in the Mitchell official plan. And maybe that the developer's consultant has comments about that. So that concludes my comments with regards to, for the purposes of the public meeting. And of course, I'm available for any questions.
Thank you, Susanna. We have Bob McLean on. Does he have any comments to add? Oh, there he is.
Good morning, councils. One of the challenges we've discussed with the planning department certainly has been the concern with additional parking for supplementary units. That's gonna have to be investigated and discussed and worked through the process. One of the other challenges with supplementary suites in new units is the Ontario Building Code. The Ontario Building Code, if it's designed as a semi or a duplex to be either split vertically or horizontally, the units would have to be designed as independent units as opposed to additional units supplementary to the principal or the first dwelling. We have had a few converted dwellings in Mitchell. They've went very well. Because they're converted dwellings, they are governed by a different section of the building code as part 11, which gives them a little bit of flexibility on fire separations, shared services, and those other types of safeties within the building, smokes and carbons and that sort of thing. So there's two sections of the building code that we have to look at with regard to new buildings or converted dwellings. So there's going to be some weighted discussions on how those attainable housing units are going to be achieved in new housing stock.
Thank you. Okay, at this point, I'm going to go to public comments, and we do have perhaps Dave Hanna, Jamie Dick, and Mark Burke from Troy Build Homes. Or True Built, sorry. Now, if we can get them up on the screen, we can see if they have any. Oh, there's Dave Hanna. And there's Jamie Dick. Are we adding?
Good morning.
Good morning. So we're at the public comment stage section, and I have the three listed. So I have you on the screen. Any comments to make at this point in time?
Yeah, good morning, Mr. Warden, members of council. My name's Dave Hannam. I'm a senior associate with Zelenka Priyama. We're a London-based land use planning consultancy. We've been retained by B&S Construction, operating under an Ontario limited company number. The principal's Bob Scott, who is an established and well-respected local builder within Mitchell. And we've been tasked with coordinating the draft plan of subdivision and the concurrent rezoning applications. As you indicated, also here this morning to answer any civil-related questions is Jamie Dick from MTE Engineers. We understand the purpose of today is to hear comments on the public and respond accordingly, and that no decision will be made today. We have reviewed the draft approval conditions in the staff report, and we are happy with them. Susanna did an excellent job in summarising the project. I haven't prepared a lengthy presentation this morning, but I would like to take a few minutes to highlight some of the key aspects of the proposal. Apologies in advance if there is some repetition. But if you could bear with me, I'd like to be able to share my screen if possible and just quickly go through that. So can everyone see that okay?
Yeah, that's fine, Dave.
Excellent. So look, I'm pretty sure most people are familiar with the site, but in terms of, you can see from the aerial photograph that the lands are vacant and undeveloped. They're a regular shaped site at this stage. The development concept has taken its cues predominantly from the existing street pattern, with lots designed to front onto Wimpole Street to the west, and either side of the extension of Anderson Lane, which is an open road allowance. As you can see from there, there's an extensive range of existing and emerging residential built form in this area, including single family homes, detached homes, there's existing semis, there's under construction townhouse development. There's agricultural and rural lands to the west, which are earmarked for future residential development. And there's also the nursing home directly to the east, which I'm not too sure, but if you know, but our client also owns those as well. And they're going to be earmarked for some form of future residential development as well. So just switching to the draft plan, as you can see there with respect to the regular shaped size of the lands have really been dictated by this existing the existing street network. The draft plan, as Susanna indicated, is 21 lots for 42 semi-detached dwellings. And that alludes to results in a total density of approximately 25 units per hectare, which marries in with the current density range in the local OP. The 21 lots will have frontage onto either Wimpole or the new 20-metre wide municipal street, which is the Anderson extension. There are sidewalks on the easterly side of both Anderson and Wimpole Street, which will connect to the sidewalks to the north and south, creating some pedestrian permeability. I just want to dig in and zoom in a little bit further. This is just a snapshot of the concept plan that was prepared with respect to the zoning bylaw. So each of the semis will, semi units will be single story. They will have a basement and attached garages. And in front of that attached garage, there'll be a 6-meter driveway apron. On average, the main floor of each of these semis is pretty modest. It's around the 1,300 square feet mark. So the lots as shown that will contain the 2 semis will be approximately 60 feet wide, with each lot frontage for each of the semi units being around 30 feet or 9.25 meters, resulting in a lot area approximately of 3,500 square feet for each semi unit. Proposed development will utilize existing municipal sewers and existing municipal water mains. If there are any particular questions about servicing, Jamie's here, as I said. He's done its functional servicing report, which is generally supportive of development. That's been reviewed by BM Ross on behalf of the municipality and also by the Conservation Authority as well. In terms of planning policy, from a policy viewpoint, the proposed development is supported by all levels of current provincial, county and West Perth land use planning policies, which encourage residential development in locations such as the subject lands in the form and the density that's being proposed. As you can see from the local OP, it's all identified as residential within this area. Suzanne talked about the zoning a little bit. What I would say is, in terms of the proposed R3 zoning, we fully comply with all of the provisions except for we're asking for a request in maximum lot coverage from 40 to 50, and that's to provide future owners with a little bit more flexibility to construct larger accessory structures such as covered decks, which under the Mitchell zoning bylaw are covered within GFA. That increase in lot coverage is supported through MTE's engineering materials. It's my understanding, and Suzanne will correct me if I'm wrong, but we haven't received any comments from the public on this development, and there's been no objections received from residents. We have previously indicated to staff and West Perth Council that our client is willing to work together to explore options for considering second dwelling units as part of this development. We certainly understand the objectives of the relevant planning policies, which in essence seek to provide greater opportunities for affordable housing. However, as Susanna alluded to, that there's nothing concrete in terms of the current planning policy framework. The objective is to deliver on affordable housing on a Mitchell-wide basis. It's not a requirement to provide a certain percentage of affordable housing on every development. And what I would say is, if we take a wider lens and looking at this particular site, if you expand further, as I indicated, there is a significant mix of existing unit types within the surrounding area, from semi-detached, other semis, townhouses, single-family homes, and also the nursing home, which would be subject to further redevelopment as well. We feel that placing further controls on our client beyond those that already exist under the current policy framework, which I should note we are capable of fully complying with respect to second dwelling units, we feel that that's unnecessary and overly restrictive. I may be so bold as to suggest perhaps this is not the development to be mandating the inclusion of purpose-built secondary units. It's our opinion that perhaps, given the lot configuration and the building code issues that Bob alluded to, that a better approach is one that the county is currently taking, which is to try and relax existing policies to improve opportunities for second dwelling units and within existing and new accessory buildings and on larger built forms such as single family homes. It's our opinion that the anticipated form that we're proposing will fit in and is compatible with the immediate and broader area environment. It's going to contribute to the mix of housing character and neighborhood, and also the housing supply, which have follow-on and byproducts with regards to affordability and obtainability. And certainly the design characteristics and site design are complementary to the surrounding area, and we don't anticipate there's going to be significant undue impacts as a result of the development. Look, that's all I've really got to say at this point in time. As I mentioned, we're willing to work with staff and agencies and locals to progress this application through to a positive recommendation. I'm happy to answer any questions you may have now, and if I can't answer them, then I will. I promise that I'll go away and find the answers and report back accordingly. Thanks.
Thanks, Dave. Does Jamie have anything to add? Jamie Dick?
Thank you, Warden and members of council. No, I don't have anything extra to add. As Dave mentioned in his presentation, that there is existing sewer infrastructure surrounding this property that we propose connecting to and utilizing with no unusual items needed to service this subdivision. And I'd be also willing to answer any questions if there are any from the warden or members of council.
Thank you, Jamie. We'll get to that right shortly here. And Mark Burke, does he have anything to add?
Hey, good morning, everyone, and good to see you. It's been maybe 18 months or 2 years since I was last with you, so good to see you. Thank you. I'm just here to answer any questions on behalf of Truebill Construction, which, as I'm sure you know, has the properties on the west side of Wimple. So he just he had a death in the family, so he just asked me to be here just in case something came up that required some additional information. So I'll mute and watch and be happy to answer any questions that may come up that are relevant on that side. Thank you.
Thank you. Okay. At this point, I'm going to ask if we had any written comments received either for or against.
Nothing received.
So I have confirmation we have had no comments received in either direction. Okay. Time for questions. Questions from council. Deputy Warden Agats.
Well, just for clarification, is it set up now for like 2 cars per unit, one in the garage, one in the driveway? Or is the driveway wide enough that 2 cars can sit side by side?
I'll answer that one. In terms of we've done an assessment to see how second dwelling units would function with regards to the existing zoning regulations, and there are some. So there is one regulation requiring an additional parking space. So there's 2 required for the semi, 1 for the second dwelling unit. And we've prepared a concept plan that shows that we can meet those minimum requirements in the zoning and deliver on that parking. Also associated with that, there are some regulations with regards to separate entrances. We can address that through a communal vestibule at the front of the building as well. So we are confident that if second dwelling units are required by future owners, then we can deliver on the requirements without any relief from the zoning bylaw regulations.
So does that tell me you can park 2 in front of the garage or 1?
So it's only a 6-meter driveway apron. So there's 1 car, so it's tandem parking in the driveway.
Okay. Thank you.
Other questions from council? Councillor Ait.
My first question would be, did you pass the one right before us when I wasn't on to say that you can put a basement apartment in right away?
Okay, so we have had that discussion, but we haven't passed anything because we're going to discuss that when we reconvene in regular council, which will be right after we're done the public meeting.
After. So I assume most of this comes from what I said at our council meeting, the fact that someday in Mitchell, we might have to have parking on the street on one side. we were going by the fact that these houses wouldn't be able to have an accessory use for 5 years because that's what it was at the time. And I'm not really worried about Jamie's, the services or anything. My question, my comment that day was, I believe if I go back and read it right, was maybe we should move them back a bit. But if we have enough width to put them 2 cars in the driveway, and I referenced a 4-plex we built where they park in the grocery store. That's what I think most of Susanna's stuff might have came from. I believe I was the only person who really spoke. I'm definitely in favor of having 21 semis and the 26 semis that are beside my house. For sure, it's a great spot to put that community living in there. There's no doubt about that. It's perfectly set up. And I think the parking is something that I don't think it'll be a problem down the road because they're small and I don't know how many people in Mitchell want them living in their basement, but that's just I guess that's my soapbox. I think it comes from me asking about parking because everything else meets the criteria for sure. So I'm happy to have the semis there. It's higher density. I think that's what we all look for. Affordable housing. Todd will verify that. That's what we're looking for. I think the price in there was, I think the price was in there at 350 to 600,000. I'm not sure if Dave could maybe say so. I think that would be the whole unit would be 600 because I contacted Bob and asked him what they would cost. And I know, so, but it's not public knowledge, so I can't say it to anybody. But I'm definitely in favor of the 21 semis on those lots. Thank you.
Okay. I'm not sure Dave wants to comment on price either, but I'll see.
Yeah, it's a little early to determine what that is at this point in time, but the previous comment was there was a range. And I indicated that it was probably going to sit somewhere in the middle of that range. So I'd say it's probably in the high 4s, around the 5s sort of thing at that stage. But it's a little early to determine what that price point will be.
Thank you. Other comments or questions? Not seeing any hands go up. I have a resolution here that Perth County Council receives the report application for proposed plan of subdivision number WP 2101 by 789274 Ontario Inc. affecting the lands described as Plan 339 part of Park Lot 17 RP 44 R2502 Part 1 RP 44 R3625 Part 1 RP 44 R3901 Part 2, and that council received comments from the public for consideration for the proposed plan of subdivision while reserving its decision for a regular council meeting. And that Perth County Council provides staff direction to work with the developer to include purpose-built second dwelling units in 3 to 5 of the semi-detached units, ensure adequate parking for the SDUs, second dwelling units, in the subdivision design. Do I have a mover and a seconder? Moved by Councillor Eit, second by Councillor McKenzie. Last chance for comment or question. Those in favor? That's carried. Perfect. Grand, we're moving on. Now for the gentlemen that have just joined us, we're actually going to reconvene into regular council and go through the OPPs, and we'll get there shortly for an answer. Okay. I have a motion that the public meeting be adjourned at 9:59 and reconvene to regular council. Moved by Councillor Kellum, second by Councillor Kasenberg. Those in favor? That's carried. Okay, so we're back into regular meeting. And now we're going to go to planning services staff reports. And we'll start with official plan amendment 201. And we need to get Melissa back on for that, right?
Hello again. let me just share.
Oh, Melissa's back.
Yes.
So we're ready for the actual planning report and for OPA 201.
Yes. Okay, so again, official plan amendment 201. Let me just enlarge this. Okay. So as I mentioned earlier, only a small portion of the site is being redesignated to agricultural to allow for a new future residents, new residents. The proposed OPA is consistent with the provincial policy statement, as the proposal aims to preserve the existing aggregate operation with minimal impact. The proposed OPA is consistent with the general intent and purpose of the official plan, as the farming operation is compatible with the aggregate operation. Also, there used to be a residence on the lot, which the owner wants to rebuild at the location already occupied by farming use. Which you can see on the screen as that small rectangle on the right. A zoning amendment has been submitted in conjunction with this application, and it'll conform to the county official plan once the amendment is approved by the county. Today, we are recommending that County Council approves the OPA 201, and this concludes my presentation. I would be happy to answer any questions. Thank you.
Thank you, Melissa. Now, if we could just stop the screen share. There we are. Questions for Melissa on this report and OPA 201? I'm not seeing any hands go up. Okay, I have a resolution. Perth County Council receives the report entitled Application for County Official Plan Amendment 201 by Michael Wilhelm Excavating, affecting lands described as Part Lot 10, Concession 2, Ellis Ward, Township of Perth East 4365, Perth Line 36 for information, and that Perth County Council approves the official plan amendment 201 to the County of Perth official plan pertaining to lands at Part Lot 10, Concession 2, Ellis Ward, Township of Perth East 4365, Line 36. Do I have a mover and a seconder? Moved by Councillor Kasenberg, second by Deputy Warden Eggets. Last chance for questions or comments. Those in favor? And that's carried unanimously. Perfect. Okay, we're going to move on to the next one. And that is 202. Yep. And we need Sally back for that. I believe. Sally, you're back and we're ready to go for yours.
Very good, thank you. So as we talked about earlier in the public meeting, today in our current official plan, a second unit is permitted inside either a dwelling, a primary dwelling, or in an accessory structure. But what it also says is that the structure needs to be 5 years old before it could be converted to an accessory unit. Or sorry, an additional residential unit. So what this official plan does is it removes those words 5 years old at the time. And what that allows is that someone could put an additional unit in that accessory structure if it was new, or if it was 1, 2, 3, or 4 years old. So we're just removing that restriction that the accessory structure needs to be 5 years old before it could be converted. And in doing so, we allow people to use younger buildings, but we also allow them to build something purposely for a second unit in their backyard. The other piece that this official plan amendment removes is the requirement that outright you would need a zoning amendment if you're putting an addition on an accessory building, even if it met the other zoning provisions. So removing these two pieces really facilitates homeowners to provide for a second unit in an accessory structure without having to come in for an additional official plan amendment or a zoning amendment. Unless, of course, they need a relief from some zone provision. So this official plan amendment was reviewed at each of the lower tier councils in the previous couple of weeks, earlier this week and last week. And each of the 4 councils have resolved to recommend approval of this official plan amendment. And that is also my recommendation to you today. So if you have any questions, I'm here and happy to answer them.
Thank you very much, Sally. Any questions for Sally at this point? I'm kind of assuming not, because we didn't have too many before. And I'm not seeing any hands go up. I have a resolution that Perth County Council receives official plan amendment 202. The County of Perth official plan revision to section 6.3A second dwelling units report for information, and that Perth County Council adopt OPA 202 and approve bylaw 3858-2022. Do I have a mover and a seconder? Moved by Councillor Kasenberg, second by Councillor Wilhelm. Last chance for questions or comments. Don't see any hands. Those in favor? That's carried unanimously. Perfect. We're going to move on to the next one. Thanks, Alec. And there's Melissa back. Official plan number 203 amendment.
Okay. So as I mentioned earlier, the middle portion that you can see on the screen on the right, the northerly portion is going to be redesignated to natural resource environment. And then the middle portion will revert back to agricultural use. The proposed OPA is consistent with the PPS, as this redesignation aims to expand protections and area coverage for the natural heritage feature to the north, and by redesignating a portion of the former mineral aggregate resource operation, which is the section in the middle. The remaining former mineral operation will be redesignated to approximately the same acreage and will have same soil capability as the adjoining agricultural use, as certified by the Ministry of Natural Resources and Forestry in consistency with the PPS, as the mineral aggregate use has been depleted, and as a result, the use has ceased. The proposed OPA is consistent with the general intent and purpose of the official plan and conforms to the applicable sections dealing with natural heritage and agricultural restorations. I would be happy to. This concludes my presentations, and I'm here to answer any questions. Thank you.
Okay, thanks, Melissa. Questions for Melissa at this point? I'm going to have to backtrack here. Just one little spot. As I'm looking at the wording on that resolution, I'm going to read it. But somehow it doesn't seem like it's worded right. Perth County Council receives the application for official plan amendment number 203 by Lance/Walter, Sherry, and Rebecca Ann Schmidt pertaining to lands at Lot 19, Concession 7, Northeast Oak Ward, Township of Perth East, 2158, Perth Line 43, and the Perth County Council approves the official plan amendment number 203 to the County of Perth official plan pertaining to the lands at Lot 19, Concession 7, Northeast Oak Ward, Township of Perth East, 2158, Perth Line 43. Do I have a mover and a seconder? Moved by Deputy Warden Agats, second by Councillor Duncan. Last chance for comments or questions. Those in favor? And that's unanimous. Perfect. Then we're going to move on to that's it for that. So we're going to move on now to economic development and tourism. So when we had that plan of subdivision, we have a bylaw for later, right?
So through the warden, the application for this plan subdivision is going to come back to a regular council meeting at a future date.
Okay.
Just in that way the planners can follow up with those comments of the developer.
Okay. Grant, so we're going to move on to Maggie, oh, there she is on the screen already. Good morning, Maggie.
Good morning, County Council.
And we're ready for your report.
Amazing, thank you. So through the warden, we just have another very standard PC Connect monthly update before you. Unfortunately, our PC Connect ridership was down in January, which is perceived to be because of the heightened restrictions that were put into place at the start of the month. But as always, we are working on continuing to spread awareness of our service and build ridership through both employer and community outreach. So with that, my report is before you, and I'm happy to answer any questions.
Any questions for Maggie on her report? Councillor Kasenberg.
Thank you, Warden Aitchison. Maggie, thank you for your report. Just a quick question about strategy with regards to our commercial or industrial employers and the localization of stops at their locations. I certainly am aware of one at LTI. Are we thinking about others? And can you tell me a little bit about the performance of those stops? Are they valuable?
Absolutely. So through the warden, we are working on specific employer outreach to businesses along or in close proximity to our existing PC Connect routes. So what we have been doing is just reaching out, providing them with full employer outreach and educational packages for PC Connect, which include posters. We're actually just working on updating one and having those professionally printed for distribution. Brochures, and also some complimentary PC Connect passes for distribution to employees to get them to try the service and, of course, use it to get to and from work. And we're also really encouraging employers to let us know if any changes would be beneficial to their service. So whether we need to introduce a stop that's in close proximity, introduce flex stop locations, and also whether a slight change in our schedules would benefit employers. So we're definitely seeing some great intake to LTI, as you mentioned, which has been very valuable, and we continue to work with them closely to make sure that they have all the resources they need. And also we're looking forward to actually being able to get into places of employment to provide presentations now that some restrictions are being lifted. So we have that plan in place to get into LTI and do some presentations to really spread awareness. So definitely a whole employer campaign in the works, and we're looking forward to seeing the benefits and outcome once that's executed. Hopefully that answers your question.
He's nodding yes, so I'm thinking yes. Comments or questions from other councillors? I don't see any. I have a motion. Perth County Council receives the PC Connect January update report. Moved by Councillor Wilhelm, second by Councillor Eit. Those in favor? That's carried. Thank you very much, Maggie.
Thank you. Have a great day, everyone.
And then we're going to move on to Marvin Smith, Perth County Forestry Inspection Report. And are you doing that or?
Yeah, well.
Okay.
So through the warden before council is the December 2021 Forestry Inspectors Report by Marvin Smith. Marvin Smith, Forestry Inspector, completed 8 inspections, 7 as a response to the submission of NOIs, and 1 as a response to a request from a landowner. Just for council's knowledge, this information was reflected in Deputy Clerk Sean McCoy's report at the February 3rd meeting as well for the Forestry Program Administration Report on 2021.
Questions with regards to that report for Tyler? Not seeing any hands going up. I have a motion. Perth County Council receives the December 2021 Forestry Inspectors Report for information. Moved by Councillor McKenzie, second by Councillor Duncan. Those in favor? And that is carried. Perfect. Now we're going to move on to Corey Bridges. You wonder why I'm going reasonably quickly here. I believe I want to get home before all the freezing rain hits. So we're going to keep moving and sliding along here. We're doing well. Corey, good morning.
Good morning, Warden Aitchison. This one is just an informational report related to essentially temporary borrowing. When we require funds to make sure we pay our vendors on a timely basis, we do have time where we receive taxation money on a certain periodic basis that might not run along with our cash flow. So this is allowing us to provide or obtain temporary borrowing. We've not used it in the past, but it gives us a safeguard to be able to go to out and borrow money to ensure that our vendors are paid in a timely manner. If there's any questions, I'll be happy to answer them.
Questions for Corey on his report? Seeing no hands, I have a motion. Perth County Council receives the 2022 borrowing bylaw report. Moved by Councillor Wilhelm, seconded by Councillor Eit. Those in favor? And that's carried unanimously. And we're moving on to Perth County Council's Legal and Corporate Services update. And Annette.
Good morning. A few highlights from January for the Legal and Corporate Services Department. The new fire dispatch service provided by Owen Sound Police Services went live on January 5th with no disruption to services or impact on our residents. So this was a joint project, you'll recall, between the county and fire services of North Perth, West Perth, Perth East, and the town of St. Mary's. So we're very pleased with the results so far. On January 24th, the warden, deputy warden, treasurer, and some staff, county staff, attended the Roma delegation with the Minister of Finance and presented on the current value assessment freeze with MPAC and with the Ontario Municipal Partner funding reductions. So hopefully something will come out of that, fingers crossed. Additionally, Legislative Services received confirmation that funding of approximately $46,000 was granted through the Municipal Modernization Program. It was intake 3, one of their review streams from the province, and this will help supplement our records program initiative and will cover the cost of hiring and intake. Various updates or updates on various projects within each division are included within the report. I do want to point out 2 things in terms of cost savings and continuous improvements. Cost savings, IT has transitioned and upgraded the county's PDF editing software, which will result in savings of approximately $15,000 over a period of 4 years. And additionally, Archives has implemented 3 new continuous improvement initiatives. One is a new paperless system for tracking research requests and inquiries. Another is an informational form clarifying researchers' responsibilities regarding the safe handling and archival material and their obligations regarding copyright and photo usage. And finally, they're piloting the use of new software together with the creation of a step-by-step guide for scanning newspapers from paper or microfilm copies. In terms of staffing, I'm pleased to announce that Danette LeConte has joined the county as the incoming manager of court services, effective January 17th. Ms. LeConte has worked within the justice sector all of her career, including with the police and the court system. And Ms. LeConte, she's been in provincial offenses for the last 18 years and was the POA court manager in Simcoe. So we're pleased to welcome her to the county. Ms. LeConte will be replacing Linda Becker, who will retire at the end of May after being with the county as the manager of court services for 22 years. So this is not yet her formal goodbye, but rather we're just letting everyone know. Additionally, Kristen Drost joined the county as a court services clerk. Ms. Drost has 9 years of experience as a law clerk with municipal experience in legislative services, the Office of the CAO, municipal bylaw enforcement, and practice experience from 2 law firms. Finally, some scheduled highlights for the upcoming month include there will be more Ask Me Anything web GIS training sessions with local municipalities. Legislative Services will submit the required AMFIPA reporting on behalf of Perth County. Legislative Services has also begun planning public consultations in collaboration with communications for the multi-year joint accessibility plan. And Legislative Services will present to the lower tier councils on the annual accessibility update in February and March based on availability and agenda priorities. So subject to any questions, that is our report.
Okay, questions for Annette on her report? Very good report.
Thank you.
Don't see any hands going up. I have a motion. Perth County Council receives the Legal Corporate Services January 2022 update report. Moved by Councillor Wilhelm, second by Councillor McKenzie. Last chance for questions. Oh, I seen a hand, then it's a no. Those in favor of that motion? Then that's passed unanimously. Okay, we're moving on to John McCollum, Director of Public Works.
Beg your pardon, just having some technical difficulties, does not seem to want to let me promote him to panelist so he can address council. Through the warden, John, if you could log off and log back on again and see if that might give us an opportunity to get you through.
Sean, if it's at all possible, we could probably bring Bell in and we can maybe switch to 7.42 and then come back to 7.41 if we can get technical difficulties resolved, Sean.
Thank you, Tyler. Yeah, I'm just attempting to promote Bill as well. And I seem to be having the same issues.
Sean, if you could make me the host, that'd be great. And I can see if I can do it on this end. So just be through Warden Aitchison's name.
Yeah, I think I just successfully moved John over.
No, I see his name. Morning, John.
Good morning, Warden Aitchison. Good morning, Council. Sorry for the delay and technical difficulties. Hopefully it wasn't on my end or just looking at my window here. It can't be freezing rain just yet, but we are preparing. Just a couple updates for Council from Public Works here. We currently have a tender out for 2 bridge rehabs on Perth Road 121. One of the bridges is in Poole and the other in Millbank. That tender closes on March 4th. We plan to bring you those results at the March 17th council meeting. Secondly, we completed the office renovations to the Paramedic Services headquarters. And yesterday, Nick Larson and I had an opportunity to go through the project with the contractor, and I can report that we are very pleased with the final result. And Nick's now going to begin the process of turning the space back over to our staff. And we are planning a facility project update report for March, and we will include some pictures and more info for council on this renovation. And now I'm pleased to present the report on the tender results for the courthouse elevator project. We had a total budget for this project of 1.5 million, with 1.3 million earmarked for construction and 200,000 for design, engineering, and consulting. In 2021, we did pre-qualify 2 contractors to proceed to a tender stage. And after a delay to apply for funding, we closed the tender on February 8th of this year. The project was tendered as a lump sum, and the bids are listed in the report without HST. Both bids are under budget and slightly lower than the detailed cost estimate that we undertook in 2021. Staff are recommending that Council award the contract to Elgin Contracting and Restoration Limited in the amount of $1,085,000 plus HST. And just a couple comments on the financial implications. Through our consulting engineer, we have incurred to date about $75,000 on engineering, design, and tender preparation. During the construction phase, we will incur costs for project supervision, inspection, and contract administration. And also a note from our treasurer that upon award, the finance division will look to immediately finance the project due to the projected increases in interest rates. And I'd be happy to answer any questions.
Thanks, John. Questions for John on his report? Not seeing any hands. I have a motion that Perth County Council receives the tender results courthouse elevator project report, and that Perth County Council award the contract for the courthouse elevator project to Elgin Contracting and Restoration Limited in the amount of $1,085,000 plus HST, and that the warden and clerk be authorized to execute the agreement and affix their signature thereto. Moved by Councillor Kellum, second by Councillor McKenzie. Last chance for comments or questions. Those in favor? Carried. Announced. Okay, now we're going to move on to the load restriction report from Bill Wilson.
And I'm going to take that one, Warden Aitchison.
Okay.
And certainly our apologies for the delay on this report. So we realized that there was a follow-up request from a report that we brought you last year on reduced loads and seasonal load restrictions. That request was for Public Works to report back on potentially amending our bylaw with respect to timelines for load restrictions, and to do so in consultation with our lower tier partners. The report does outline information on reduced load restrictions and the signage required to post these restrictions. We have had several conversations with our lower tier partners, and we note the following. A timing of the reduced load season in all of our bylaws is consistent among all 5 municipalities. There are some minor inconsistencies with our signing practices, but we've always worked closely with all of our partners in posting of seasonal loads. There is a common understanding that these restrictions are in place to protect our road assets when most susceptible to damage to the spring thaw. And our local partners have indicated that the systems in place for managing our load restrictions are working. And there is little indication that changing that system would provide any further benefit to protecting their road assets. Also, we all agreed that the existing restricted timeframes are adequate in that they cover the roughly 8-week period when road conditions are most susceptible. One inconsistency that we did find, though, in our bylaws was that 2 of the lower tier partners did have some language within their bylaw that permitted the director or road manager to reduce or extend the reduced load period on a temporary basis under their sole discretion. That was in 2 of the bylaws, and in two of them it was consistent with the county, which was silent on that matter. So if council wishes, they could direct staff to include or bring back a report to include that language in our bylaw, which could go to support those local communities. And I'd be happy to answer any questions.
Thanks, John. Questions for John with regards to this report, Councillor Wilhelm.
Yes, I'd like to see that put in. Just having arbitrary dates, I don't think works anymore. We've seen it very mild in February and or extend out into later in the cold weather into March, April. And or it gets dried up and the roads that don't need the load limits later on. And I think that we have to provide a better service by meeting the climate and the conditions of our roads, not necessarily just make arbitrary decisions on dates.
Councillor Duncan.
Just a question for John. I agree with Councillor Wilhelm, but how then, John, would you go about your signage if you were to arbitrarily alter the bylaw as the director? How would that work then? I guess is my question.
Thank you. Through the warden, that is covered in the report there with the signage. If we were to move to something like that where we're changing the dates, obviously there's got to be some changes to what we do with our signage out there, and that can cause some implications as we've noted in the report. If we are to do that where the director or the road manager is each season going to determine when the restrictions will be in place, that language should be in all 5 of our bylaws. So this is something, where we see this should likely be driven at the local level. This is obviously from the county's side of things. Our roads are the structure of our roadways. We're less susceptible to these impacts than your local roads. So I think everything that we do here at the county is just in support of the local municipality. And so again, further, we've always been consistent in our practices. We're going to continue to do so. We currently are to the greater degree. But if we're going to go changing the time frames each and every year, then we need the language in our bylaws to do so.
Other comments or questions? Councillor Kasenberg.
Thanks. I'm hoping I'm following this. I just want to inquire, John, you mentioned the sort of coordination, if you will, with the member municipalities, the lower tier municipalities. Have they been consulted about this matter? Like, have you been in talks with the other public works directors, and can you comment on what their disposition is towards this?
Yeah, through the warden, yes, most certainly. As I stated both in the report and in the presentation here, this matters most to the local road authorities, and so their input is the most critical in this. So we've certainly had lots of discussion about that, and again, we're all consistent in our thinking here and where we're at. So we're happy with the way it's working currently. We're happy with the time frames, and again, regardless of what our bylaws say or any minor inconsistency, we're always working and consulting each other on things of this nature.
Okay. Does anyone want to see? Oh, sorry, Deputy Warden Eggets, I see your hand there finally.
I hear what Bob is saying, but it's going to cause mass confusion if you start changing the dates from year to year. So one year it could be the middle of February to the middle of May, or the next year it could be different dates. And I think I think we need to pick dates. I know the seasons are changing, things are happening here, but I think we need to pick dates that are consistent, because I think we're going to have a real problem if we start shifting the dates every year. It's not going to work. But I'd like to talk to our local public works too about it. Wes and I haven't had any conversations with him, but just to see, where they're at. John and them have already had discussions. Yeah, they want to support one another, but I still think it's going to cause mass confusion if you start shifting dates around every year.
Other comments? Councillor Wilhelm?
I'll just make one comment. In Quebec, they do it all the time, and it works extremely well. You know that you go and check when they put the regulations on, and surely to goodness, we can have some flexibility here and do a better job of protecting our roads and being of service to our residents and people who travel through the county.
Other comments or questions? Well, first I'm going to deal with just receiving the report. So Perth County Council receives the seasonal land load restrictions and reduced loads report, moved by Councillor McKenzie, seconded by Councillor Wilhelm. Those in favor? Carried. Now, I'm going to ask the second question. Would you like to see another report back with regards to potential changes? Councillor Duncan.
I'd like to continue down the road into more discussion on this, but I think we need some time that all the lower tier councils can have a discussion at their level with their public works staff, and I guess it's more or less we need to decide if the rest of our lower tier councils want to bring this back to the county as well.
Okay, I think I saw Councillor Wilhelm's hand go up. I could be wrong. That's a no. Anyone else? So would you like to see further discussion with the lower tiers with regards to potential changes in this area of load restrictions? Give me a show of hands here. Yeah, we do. Okay, so John, I'll leave that with you. You can continue on discussions with, give you a direction to continue discussions with the lower tiers, and at some time bring us back some information as to what you've all decided upon or discussed. Does that work for you?
Through you, Warden. We've already sort of had those discussions. I guess I think what Councillor Duncan may be leaning to is I think
be held at the lower tier as well.
I think that report needs to come individually to each of the 4 lower tier municipalities. You know, we'll certainly we can be the lead on that to further discussions, if you will. But I think we first need consistency with bylaws at the local level, and really what we need at the end is just the county bylaw to reflect and support those local bylaws.
Okay, so there's going to be further discussions going to be reported to lower tiers, and then maybe we'll be able to come up with some sort of decision. Just a thought. I know most of those requests come from somebody in the area for exemption to the date. We had one here. Well, we had several, 2 or 3 in the last couple of years. One was a cement company, and one was Bruce Power, different things. So it's also something that could be dealt with at the lower tier if it's in your own municipality. Anyway, we've received that report. Thanks, John. So we are going to move on. The next thing on the agenda is council reports. Does anyone have any council reports they'd like to give? Councillor Kasenberg.
Thank you, Mr. Warden. Actually, it's more a request. This matter of load restriction has prompted my thinking again, and I believe Councillor Duncan first raised with this council more than a year ago the issue of snow fencing. And so I'm curious to inquire, perhaps ask staff for a report on a current position on snow fencing. I did take note of a comprehensive report from the County of Grey on the subject of an approach to snow fencing using corn left in the roadsides for about 12 rows at the road edges on county roads in the County of Grey, and I thought that quite an interesting thing. I had no knowledge of that before I read the report. But I'm wondering if we might ask staff for an update on thinking and positioning with regards to snow fences.
Okay. Back when we had one of those studies done with regards to modernization and whatnot, one of the comments that came back was snow fencing, was it not?
Through the warden, I believe that is correct. Would you like John to be brought back in?
I don't think we're going to need a resolution, but I think what we will do is I will speak with John.
We can have staff follow up on that item. And
we will follow up on that item, and perhaps whether it needs a report or just a verbal update or something, but we're going to do something with it, Councillor Kazenberg. Okay. Anything else on council reports? Okay, we're going to move on to bylaws. And the first one is bylaw 3860-2022 be ready first, second, and third time. And finally passed the 17th day of February 2022. And that is the official adoption of your budget. Do I have a mover and a seconder? Councillor Kazenberg, Councillor Wilhelm. Last chance for discussions. Not seeing any hands. Those in favor? That's carried. Perfect. And now we have bylaw number 3857-2022 be ready first, second, and third time. And finally passed the 17th day of February 2022. And that is regards to OPA 201. Do I have a mover and a seconder? Councillor Duncan, Councillor Wilhelm. Last chance for questions. Those in favor? That's carried. Moving on. I have bylaw 3858-2022 be read a first, second, and third time. And finally passed the 17th day of February 2022. And that is OPA 202, second dwelling units. Moved by Deputy Warden Agate, second by Councillor Kazenberg. Questions? Those in favor? That's carried. Okay, and then we have OPA 203, bylaw number 3859-2022, be ready first, second, and third time. And finally passed this 17th day of February 2022. Do I have a mover and a seconder? Councillor Wilhelm, Deputy Warden Agates. Last chance for questions. Those in favor? That is carried. Okay, moving on again. We have bylaw 3861-2022 be ready first, second, and third time, and finally passed the 17th day of February 2022. And that is your borrowing bylaw. Councillor Kazenberg, Councillor Ike. Any questions? Those in favor? That's carried. And then we're going to move on to bylaw 3862-2022. Be read a first, second, and third time, and finally passed the 17th day of February 2022. And that is to deal with your elevator project RFP award. Councillor Duncan. Councillor Kellum, I mean. Sorry. And seconded by Councillor Duncan, anyway. That was sort of right. Last chance for questions. Those in favor? It's carried. Cooling down in this little room in here, and my glasses are now starting to periodically steam up, and I have to kind of keep going like that and whatnot. Anyway, okay, so we got bylaws. Okay. Notice of motions. Do we have any notice of motions? Other business. Any announcements? I have one, but I'll let you guys go first. I don't see any, so I do have an announcement. And I believe I can officially say this now. Meredith Forget, our Director of Economic Development, has been appointed to the EDCO board. Officially, I think that was as of yesterday. So that would be a great bonus for us. Kate Bergs Gallagher from Western Ontario Warden sits on that as well. But anyway, I just wanted to make you aware of that and congratulate Meredith for her appointment on that board. Okay, so there's no other announcements. I have a motion. If I can find all my paper. The council goes into closed session at 10:45 to deal with a matter pertaining to labor relations, a second matter pertaining to labor relations, and a matter pertaining to the security of municipal property. Moved by Councillor Wilhelm, Councillor McKenzie. Those in favor? Carried. So we're just going to have a perfect. Okay, I have a motion. Back to the readers. Bylaw 3863-2022 being a bylaw to confirm the proceedings of the council of the corporation of the county of Perth at its regular meeting held February 17th, 2022 is read a first, second, and third time and finally passed February 17th, 2022. Moved by Councillor Wright. Did you have your hand up or is that just your chair I'm seeing? I got Councillor Duncan, Councillor McKenzie. Those in favor? That's carried. And I have a meeting that the council meeting be adjourned at 11:15. Moved by Councillor Kasenberg, second by Councillor Wilhelm. Those in favor? That's carried. Thank you very much. And we